the question, how important is networking to your career?
To me personally or in general?
To you personally. I want to hear you personally.
Without it. And neither would anybody else, especially at a C level. So while of course it's important to start earlier in your career, once you move up, it's literally do or die. You won't progress in your career without it. Ask basically any senior executive that you know in any industry doing any role how they got their job, and 99% of the time they'll tell you they were either personally introduced to the hiring manager or a recruiter reached out to them for an opportunity that wasn't publicly posted. And that's why I find it so frustrating to see all these posts on LinkedIn where there's people say, oh, I reached out I applied for 1,000 jobs and I'm not getting anywhere. Well, first of all, nobody is a good fit for 1,000 jobs, no matter who you are or what you do. But more importantly, they're skipping the human element. They're not actually putting in the work to get to know the people that they need who are actually going to help them get their foot in the door. As I always say, one great introduction is worth more than 1,000 blind applications. And this isn't new. You know the saying that who you know is more important than what you know. Well, sure, you have to have the basic competencies to be considered at all. But all things being equal, beyond that, your network is far more important than how you actually are at your job, and that's something that a lot of people struggle to accept. And it's always been this way, going all the way back to ancient times. Ever since the first societies had the first service-based economies, people got hired based on who they knew, more so than how good they were. So then thousands and thousands of years to the operate. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it will.
So I guess, because we have to think about this, right? If you have two candidates, right, and they're similar, two similar candidates, you know one of them and you don't know another one, right? So you take that element of, I kind of know this person, so I know the things that I can work with them on to help them improve, and you know them, so you're okay with that. And then you have this element of someone that you don't know. Well, you don't know what their personality is like. Yeah, they look good on paper as well too, and maybe even a little bit better than this person over here, but you know this person. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to go with the person that you have a relationship with. And that's just the human element of it. That's the human element of it. And I don't think that it's definitely not something that's taught, right? We're not taught these things. You have to learn it. And I have a quick story, and I'll get back to asking you a question. The pivotal moment for me about networking was I literally watched people come in and follow leadership up until they became leaders. And then it was like those leaders said, okay, go and spread your wings, right? But they literally followed them all the way up to the point in their career to now they're making the decisions. And you watch that and you're like, oh man, I've been doing this wrong. I should have got on the coattails of somebody else as well too. I should have been networking and following and digging in to people that I deem people I wanted to be like, right? Instead of thinking the whole, oh, I work hard, so it's going to come to me, long as I keep, working hard. But yeah, in the beginning, that works, right? But then as you get further in your career and you start becoming in the executive roles, that don't work.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because somebody just reached out to me about that sooner. He said, he ultimately hopes to make it to the C-suite. He's much earlier in his career. But he said, my problem is I'm doing great work, but nobody seems to know. And I said, well, that's the problem. Nobody knows. So they're not going to find out unless you tell them. You have to put yourself out there. And what I basically what I call it is I call it professional peacocking. You know, the way a peacock, struts across the grass, showing off all his beautiful feathers to try to attract a mate. He's putting himself out there and he's making himself get seen.
Mm-hmm.
You basically have to do the same thing with your work. It's like you're putting on a commercial for yourself. If you're trying to sell a car, nobody's going to know how good the car is unless you put on a commercial and say these are the features that we're offering and this is the price and so on and so forth. You have to, just being good at your job isn't enough. You have to market yourself and put yourself out there so people know about you. And that's the piece that a lot of people are leaving out.
Okay, so yeah, let's stay here for a second. What are some things that people can do? Because let's get past the factor too, because a lot of people grew up and it's like, oh, be humble, don't brag. You kind of being taught these things, and then now as you in your career is like you got to kind of brag on yourself. You got to put yourself out there, but you've been taught your whole life that's not what you're supposed to do. So what are some tools that people can take away to, kind of quote unquote humbly brag, I guess, so to speak?
Well, it's funny you use that term, because if you actually think about it, nobody really in history, with maybe the exception of Gandhi, has ever achieved anything great by being humble. So look at Muhammad Ali. He would strut around the ring and be like, I'm the greatest in the world. Everybody already knew that, but he took it to the next level by actually saying it. So I guess there is a fine line you have to walk. I mean, the people who are truly the best at what they do don't have to go around telling everybody else because they already know. But with that said, in order to get to to have the opportunity to be the best in the world, they had to show off to some extent. So really, what is humbly bragging? It's the art of showing off tactfully. Basically, it's telling everybody how awesome you are without being an asshole about it. That's really what it is.
Okay. I like that.